A huge warm welcome to the art vlog, art lovers, with me, George Dopamine. Today we're at the National Gallery here in London to explore a show by Paula Rego called Crivelli's Garden. This is one of those free small shows which I've begun to really enjoy and embrace at the National Gallery in room 46. Rego was an associate artist at the National Gallery. Originally she was offered the post and turned it down, saying the National Gallery was a masculine collection, and as a woman I can find nothing in here that will be of interest to me. Over time she changed her mind, and between 1990 and 1992 she had a studio in the bowels of the National Gallery to my left. She produced several major works, including a 9-meter long mural that was inspired by Carlo Crivelli's Madonna of the Swallows. And this work had been restored in 1989 and caught her eye, and the mural that she produced was placed in the gallery's restaurant. I've never seen this mural myself because I've never eaten in the restaurant when it was there, and it's now been removed and put in a gallery where it's going to be partnered by Crivelli's masterpiece. So this exhibition is free. It's on until the 29th of October. It's going to be small. It's going to be one of those ones that you might want to pop into if you're in London. So come and join me as we head inside and explore this free exhibition of Paula Rego's work. The first thing that I noticed when viewing Rego's huge mural was the blue and white colour scheme, alluding to the blue and white tiles used to decorate houses in Rego's Portugal. The second most obvious thing was the sheer amount of women who dominate every part of the mural. And I found the sheer density of figures, the different sizes, the different clothes, quite overwhelming at first. And so it's really worth taking a step back and looking at individual scenes within the wider piece. We see scenes from Aesop's fables and tales from Ovid decorating the base of the fountain and that huge wall behind. We see a storyteller and a budding artist at her feet, inspired to draw a snake on the ground, while those two figures on the stairs behind are inspired by an old photo of Rego and her daughter as a child. Rego subverts the Samson and Delilah painting. After betraying Samson, Delilah no longer lies passive under his body, but crawls away. In the foreground is another biblical scene, as Judith places a large object in the apron of her maid, presumably the severed head of an Assyrian general, while we see Greek myths reimagined on the pillar to the right. We see National Gallery lecturer at the time, Lizzie Perotte, sitting in as Mary Magdalene in a niche. We see St. Martha sweeping diligently, one of many brushes in the painting, while Mary Magdalene sits at her feet in contemplation. Above we see St. Catherine of Alexandria wielding a sword over the head of a decapitated Emperor Maxentius, who'd ordered her torture. We see the Visitation in one of the key scenes in the mural, where the Virgin Mary urgently converses with her cousin Elizabeth, who's pregnant with John the Baptist. John also appears holding a lamb to the right. One of my favourite images is this one of St. Margaret, who according to legend was swallowed by a dragon, then befriended the dragon and erupted from his stomach, becoming the patron saint of women in labour. The dragon is demoted in this image to a much more subservient frog, while key scenes from the Virgin Mary's life adorn the wall behind. And a really important young girl is reading in the foreground, as you can now see. The reader was described by Rego as the anchor figure of this whole painting, and she's just there solitary, alone. Having feasted our eyes on Rego's mural, we naturally turn to its inspiration, Carlo Crivelli's Madonna of the Swallows. And what's really interesting is, I don't think it's the main section of the painting, a Virgin and Child with a rather dashing St. Stephen by her side in fetching pink leggings, I think they are. But actually, it's when we look at the predella of framed scenes from the lives of the saints and nativity and other scenes as well along the bottom that we begin to see the links between the paintings, because Rego was fascinated by Crivelli's use of perspective, and we see this along the predella. The three central landscapes are curiously just out of harmony, and some of the figures, like this one of St. Catherine, are just weird. The picture of St. George slaying the dragon at the other end actually has the face of the saint obscured by his horse. Unlike the sort of calm painting above, these scenes are teeming with people and animals and experimentation with perspective, as you can see here in the painting stretching back into the background. And so you can begin to see a bond of affinity between the inspiration and the mural. And apparently this had been restored in 1989, just before Rego took up her associate artistship, and so she would have been naturally drawn to what would have looked like a stunning picture. The final bit of the exhibition treats us to some preparatory sketches, some preparatory paintings and drawings as well. And it's interesting to see how she began to structure and think about perspective in these. And also that most of the women in the main mural are based on herself, her child, her grandchild, or really crucially employees of the National Gallery while she was associate and the associate artist. And these figures have obviously been immortalised, and it wasn't just people very high up in the National Gallery. Apparently many members of the education team, for example, were featured. Rego, obviously, as I said in my introduction, had some hostility to the National Gallery as a patriarchal institution, and it's really interesting to think that her way around this was to reach out and bond with many of the women in the institution, and to place these at the centre of a piece of work that was going to become a part of the fabric of the building. And apparently when the dining room in the Sainsbury Ring is restored, then this mural will go back to its original function. I really hope you enjoyed that little peek and explanation of Paula Rego's mural, her 10-metre long mural, and also Crivelli's masterpiece. The first question I really was asking myself is, does Paula Rego stand up to the Renaissance work that inspired her? For me, absolutely yes. This is one of her great works, in my opinion, and it's such a pleasure to be able to see it for all art lovers. I have to say, on a more broader level, I do love these little Room 46 specialisms. I'm repeating myself a little bit because I love Picasso and I love the art of Ugly Duchess. What I particularly like, because there's a small amount of work, you're encouraged to look really closely and give the work the attention they deserve. And all too often in art exhibitions and art galleries, we're going from one work to another to another to another. That was wonderful. It was great to see the exquisite skill in the preparatory works as well. And there was something magic about imagining Rego producing this work on site in a studio in 1990, in the early 1990s. This show is on right till the end of October. It's free. I do encourage, if you're in London, if you're in the West End, if you want to pop into a little bit of art, to come and see it, because it's really worth seeing these works. Don't forget to subscribe to the art vlog, hit that notification bell for more reviews and previews of upcoming shows around London, the southeast of England and beyond.